Merry Christmas, YouTube. You know, it's been a while since I posted my ugly mug on this channel, but I felt the need to maybe put myself out there a little bit more onto YouTube and in video format. And I've always enjoyed the type of content where it's just some guy sitting in front of his phone rambling about whatever subject that he wants to ramble about. So I've decided that I'm going to start doing that a little bit here and there. So first of all, Merry Christmas. It is 10:43 in the AM on Christmas Day here where I'm at. And I just want to say Merry Christmas, or, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus for the rest of us, if that's what you celebrate. Or just Happy Thursday if you don't celebrate anything at all. That's fine too. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about my thoughts on the whole Bigfoot subject and why I think it's a load of barnacles. Now, if you're going to be easily butthurt and offended that somebody doesn't believe in Bigfoot, I encourage you to please give this video a thumbs down and leave a nasty comment and then leave. So anyway, where I want to start, I believe that the whole subject of Bigfoot really started taking off after podcasts and podcast format really became popular over the last 10 to 15 years. Now, it's not to say that Bigfoot hasn't been around before that. We all know it has. And there's been an interest in Bigfoot, since time immemorial, pretty much. Since the time of mass media, at least. So I'm not going to sit here and debate that. But it's really blown up ever since a few particular podcasts. I'm not going to name names, but there have been a couple podcasts that are really huge on Bigfoot. And I think that those are what really set the modern interest in Bigfoot in motion. Now, like I said, I'm not going to name names, but this one in particular that I have in mind, where at this point in the show's history, thousands of guests have come on and talked about their incredible Bigfoot encounters, which makes you kind of wonder if there are thousands of people going on this particular show to talk about their Bigfoot encounters. There's got to be thousands more than them who have also had encounters. Because statistically speaking, you're not going to have a high percentage of people going on podcasts to talk about this kind of stuff. Now, everybody's got someone they know who has seen something weird. It doesn't have to be Bigfoot. So we're not talking about that today. I've seen some weird stuff in my life too. Nothing Bigfoot related, but I've had my own experience with some weird stuff that I can't explain. But when it comes to this whole Bigfoot thing, I find it really weird that thousands of people have gone on podcasts to talk about their stories, some of them very harrowing encounters, and yet not one of them has been able to prove their story. Now, it's not to say that we expect everyone in a terrifying situation would have the mindfulness to pull out their camera and film the entire thing. But it's like nobody has any proof that these things exist. Now, the other thing is that these so-called Bigfoot believers, they come up with all kinds of mental gymnastics to justify why science hasn't caught up with these things yet. And most of them are ridiculous. Like, they hide from humanity because they know that humans are dangerous. Well, of course, right? Deer also do that, but we still find them every now and then. Hunters shoot them. Deer run at the first sight of a human. Two is that they bury their dead. Okay, whatever. You can argue that maybe they bury their dead like we do. But I find it kind of weird that nobody's ever stumbled upon a burial site for these things. But we'll give them that. Three is that we don't have any sort of DNA evidence. I think there have been a few studies done where DNA analysis has been done. I believe in particular what's her name? Melba Ketchum, I believe her name was, did a study on some alleged DNA samples, but she tweaked the data to make it seem like there was an unknown primate when there really wasn't. I'm paraphrasing here, and I could be getting my facts wrong, so please go easy on me with that. I'm going without notes on this one. So, another thing is the Patterson Gimlin film. Now, Bigfoot believers point to this, and this has become like the Bigfoot believers' holy Bible. This is 100% factually correct that this is a Bigfoot on footage, caught on tape. Now, I don't understand how these people can be so confident, because what most of these people do is they will listen to what some talking head so-called expert on the History Channel says, when this so-called talking head History Channel expert will say that there's no way that this could be a man in a monkey suit. And then they'll take that as the word, the gospel, when you could find thousands of other experts, anthropologists, video experts, any of these kind of people that will tell you the complete opposite. And yet they want to latch on to the fringe opinion. So what they want to do is they want to appeal to authority by pointing at someone like Jeff Meldrum, who is kind of a black sheep among anthropologists, or was, RIP, when there are thousands of other anthropologists with the same credentials who are not going to agree with him. So appealing to authority in this instance doesn't make any sense, because if you're going to try to appeal to authority, you got to include everybody, not just one expert. Now, another thing is the way that the internet economy has shifted and morphed. It's become very merchandise heavy. Now, podcasts, they make their money by advertising and selling merch, right? So these people who have these podcasts, they need the myth to stay alive, right? Their podcast would be done for if they ever found a conclusive answer to this question. Because they've got shirts to sell, they've got dad hats to sell, they've got stickers to sell, whatever junk that they're slinging, they need to keep selling that shit. So my argument here is that the whole Bigfoot topic has kind of morphed from a scientific pursuit into a circus, and then into a cottage industry. Yeah, I think that I would call it a cottage industry. Now, in order to kind of prop up that cottage industry, there needs to be a an origin story, like a creation story, almost like in a religion. And when it comes to Bigfoot, that origin story is the Patterson Gimlin film. Now, for decades, this was widely believed to just be a hoax, right? You've got Roger Patterson, he passed away just a couple years after the footage was taken. And then you have Bob Gimlin, who I think, as far as I'm aware, he's still alive in his 90s. But he was kind of a recluse for many decades, and I think, in my opinion, it was because the footage was so bad and people in his hometown were kind of making fun of him for being a part of this whole thing, this whole nonsense. But it's almost like when the internet came around, the age of the internet, people started to believe it more and more. And he kind of slowly poked his head up out of the hole that he was hiding in and realized that he could kind of capitalize on this whole topic and come speak at conferences and, you know, get paid that way. So, yeah, I'm thinking out loud here because a lot of people think that Roger Patterson hoaxed the Patterson Gimlin film with Bob Gimlin in order to make some money before Roger Patterson died of cancer. Now, it's a plausible scenario, right? It would be a lot like that movie or the TV show Breaking Bad, right? Where he's trying to pull the big dirty right before he goes out so that he can leave a legacy or leave something behind for his wife. Now, his wife was put in charge of the rights to the footage, and she did make a lot of money off of that. There's no denying that. Selling the rights to, media outlets and all that sort of thing. But in the age of the internet, the subject as to like the matter of it being a hoax or not has come back up. And among the Bigfoot people, the so-called Bigfoot people, this whole thing has been reopened, and they're trying to pick apart the footage and find reasons why this can't be a man in a monkey suit. Now, for one, you're going to get some people, one guy in particular on YouTube who I'm not going to name. I'm not going to name this person's name, but what he does is he takes still images of the film, he cuts them out, and then he starts drawing 2D lines onto the image. So he's trying to draw 2D lines onto a 3D image and passing it off as a valid measurement and saying, look, there's no way that this could be a man in a monkey suit. Well, for one, that's not the correct way to do a measurement. You can't just, without knowing the distance between the camera and the subject, and also the angle of the camera to the subject, you're never going to be able to find out that kind of information. It would be like if you wanted to measure the brim of my hat and I was facing like this angle here, you wouldn't be able to do that because it's at a weird angle. Maybe that's a bad comparison, but I think you get what I mean. If I'm really close to the camera, I get really distorted. The dimensions of my face get more distorted. And same here. So yeah, like I said, I just wanted to put this video out there because there's a lot of nonsense going on. And I'm a person who really wants Bigfoot to be real. I'd really love for Bigfoot to be real. It would be so cool. And I think that that's why this myth is so appealing to some people. It's because having something wandering around in the woods that's very much like ourselves, but still hidden from us after all these years, there's something about it that's very appealing. Now, one last argument that these Bigfoot people sometimes make is that they'll often say, there are stories like this in every culture around the world, so therefore there's got to be something to it. There's got to be some kind of a creature or phenomenon happening here. And I would say that, yeah, there probably is an anthropological explanation for this. But it's not physical anthropology that's going to explain this. It's cultural anthropology. Just because every culture in the world has a myth that's similar to Bigfoot, that doesn't mean that there's a hairy creature running out there in the woods. That means more likely that there's something in human nature wants that believes that there could be something like this out there, right? It's a cultural anthropology question, not a physical one. Yeah, and like I said, if you disagree with me, if you get really butthurt when people point this out because you're very emotional about this subject, I encourage you to please leave a thumbs down and leave a nasty comment in the comments section below. And Merry Christmas. Thanks for watching.